Quiet. Quiet, he's gonna say something.
I'm pretty tired. Think I'll go home now.
Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
I have a problem with that line. Look at the back of the box and then you know what's in it.
They didn't always have that, I don't think. The marketing.
Every chocolate box I get has... Am I not eating the posh ones?
Yeah. And
also, that would never work. What if you're allergic to, like, nuts? Oh, we don't know which one this one is. Oh, right. I'm having a nut allergy and, I'm going to die. Sorry.
Well, that's true, yeah. So, you may have guessed from that quote and obviously click on the episode that we are going to be finally talking about Forrest Gump.
Yeah, film both me and Paul haven't seen, right?
I've seen it many times. And it's one I've wanted you to see, but you've, in a way, you've kind of been putting it off a little bit. Because I've said it's quite touching. And
I know it's sad. Like, I've seen him sitting on that bench. It's one of those films where I know the saying of life is like a box of chocolates. I know, obviously, Tom Hanks' character hasn't got all his faculties.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I just didn't think I'd be emotionally prepared for it. Like, I feel like this is why I've been putting it off. Because I just know I'm going to cry, probably. Everyone says they cry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm more sensitive than majority of people.
I mean, I've cried seeing it.
You cried it up as well.
Yeah. My mum and dad, my brother watched it with them, and they all cried. Mum and dad near enough whelmed. So
I've never seen your dad cry.
Big in the film up in that way, in the sense of it makes him feel emotional. Then yeah.
It'd be interesting to understand how everyone feels and what part of the films make you cry. Like, if it's the same section that everyone just cries at, or if it's different points within the film. Like, for example, Inside Out. Me and you had two different moments from the first one when we did cry.
True, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if it is similar in this film.
I think, I'll say with this one, I think it's more down to musical cues that kind of tell you when to feel emotion. But
you mean like how Deadpool did?
They're in a different way. So, before we get into things, I'll read you the brief synopsis.
Okay.
Forrest, a man with low IQ, recounts the early years of his life when he found himself in the middle of key historical events. All he wants now is to be reunited with his childhood sweetheart, Jenny.
Okay. Doesn't sound too bad.
So, yeah.
Just don't want it to be that he's always on that bench and he's just lonely and he's just sat talking to somebody and he doesn't, he's got nobody because he's classed as not a high Q, so nobody's giving him the time of day.
Right, speaking to the void, you mean? And no one's listening, you mean?
No, I don't know, he's on the bench and there's people. I know there's people sat with him. I don't know what relevance when I've seen it. I've seen clips of this film.
Okay. Right.
It's a little bit like pop culture or whatever, where it's out there, it's in the universe, like Titanic. I'm aware of it. I've seen him sat on the bench talking to people, but I just don't want it to be that.
How far that goes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm being so lonely, his only logic is sitting on a park bench or whatever, hoping someone sits next to him, and then...
Okay.
Because that will get me sad, if he's just got nobody and he's lonely.
Well, we're going to find out how that plays out then, won't we?
Do I get some chocolate for watching this? Like a box of chocolates, is that...
Can't promise it. But I'm sure we've got some chocolate somewhere.
I mean, Put me through this and you don't even provide chocolate.
So, we're going to sit down, brace ourselves to find out what Sophie's thoughts are on Forrest Gump.
Paul's going to get whacked with a pillow if I'm absolutely streaming with tears.
We were the only boat left standing. Bubba Gump Shrimp's what they got. We got a whole bunch of boats, 12 Jennies, big old warehouse. We even have hats that say Bubba Gump on them. Bubba Gump Shrimp. It's a household name.
Hold on there, boy. Are you telling me you're the owner of the Bubba Gump Shrimp Corporation?
Yes, sir. We got more money than David Crockett.
Boy, I heard some whoppers in my time, but that tops them all. We were sitting next to a millionaire.
And we are back, having watched Forrest Gump. And did I get whacked with a pillow?
No, but I feel like there's time. The day's not done yet. So, yeah. I don't know how to feel about this film.
Okay.
First of all, I didn't know it was called Forrest, as in that was like forest and trees, and that was his name. I don't know, I feel like it was just a
What do you mean,
nickname.
sorry? It wasn't called Forrest because of forest trees, it was...
No, but I mean like a forest, as in with trees.
Right, okay.
I feel like that's not really, that's like a stupid name that we'd give somebody now, like River, sorry if you are called River, but, or Sky, or, you know.
Right, okay. Whereas I think it's like, that's like an Americanism, like name kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, which
like Hunter or...
yeah. But
sorry if people are called Hunter, but you know.
But I just didn't think he was, I don't know, I just thought he was more like a nickname thing than his actual name.
Right.
So that threw me off a little bit.
What would be the significance of that, do you think, if it was?
I don't know. I just didn't realise that was his actual name. Or I thought that was the title of the movie, not the title of the character.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I've never really dwelled on it too much, I guess. But then I realised they were calling him Forrest and that was his first name, it was like, oh, that's a bit of a weird name.
Well, it's named after a long-lost relation, Nathan Bedford Forrest, but who was apparently in the part of the Ku Klux Klan.
Great.
So, you know, great legacy there to behold.
Yeah, bless him. He doesn't know any wiser, does he?
Well, no,
the way
again,
that he
delivers the things that he says is like it's got like a childlike innocence to it, and it's like for us, it's like yeah, in some ways.
I think that's what's really endearing about the entire film is the way that Tom Hanks portrays Forrest's character. Like he's puts on the accent, or
the Alabama accent. Yeah. It's the deep South kind of
and
drawl to it. Yeah,
he's so innocent, like a child. Like he sees the good in everything, and I don't know. I really do love Forrest as a character. Like you just want the best for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happened while I was watching this, and I don't know if you expected this off me or not, was I got very attached to Forrest, like a bit like a mother hen thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where then, if someone wanted to hurt Forrest, I was like, I'm gonna hurt you.
You mean like the kids, like the bullies? Yeah.
Yeah, but then I felt like at that point it was okay because he had Jenny. And like when he got on the bus and nobody wanted to let him sit him down because he had the stabilizers on his legs.
Yeah, the braces, stirrups, whatever. Yeah.
And it's like, why are you being harsh? Like, yes, okay, he's different, but let him sit. Clearly, he's got something wrong with his legs. Like, are you stupid? Like, just let him sit down. Like, if the bus breaks harsh, he's on his bottom, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, but then she was like quite sweet and endearing. Like, you can sit here. And I feel like initially her character was wonderful.
Yeah, for me watching this at this point of the film, as opposed to before, I think it kind of somewhat hit me a little bit more even at that point, because it's like because again she was like so sweet and innocent, but how the film progresses, it's a bit like, oh, this is really like kind of like sad, but I didn't obviously want to give the game away on that, so I kind of kept that like choked up. Again, I was just saying before watched the thing about like how the music kind of influences that a little bit. It's kind of like like this melodic, like melancholy kind of music to it, and it's like isn't this sweet? And like she's the most beautiful thing I ever seen, kind of thing, and that kind of like
is smitten by it. And
kind of,
why wouldn't he be? She does look angelic. Like as a little girl, she's so sweet. And to be fair, she's having a really, really bad time of having an upbringing. Like her mum passed away when she was quite little. Her dad's an alcoholic and he's abusive. So she didn't want to really go home. She wants to just spend her time with Forrest. And you can kind of see that Forrest actually has a really, really good, loving mother who
really like don't let anybody like tell you that you're different. You're just as you're no different from everybody else. Yeah. Rather, and society's almost like, well, he is different because his IQ's like 75, and so
and I kind of relate to Forrest in that because, not saying I'm not the brightest spark, but I was like in the lower set at school. I wasn't the one that was going to get like A stars. That's never going to be in the pipeline for me. And I think I can see my mum in Forrest's mum, where it's like, you can do whatever you want. If you put your mind to it, you can work hard, you can get whatever you want. And I think that is the moral of this story. Like, Forrest is very successful. Like, I really was happy that I saw how well he did achieve every single thing he put his mind to.
I think some of it, though, to be told, is a bit of like, almost like coincidental circumstances, really. Like when he's a bit older and he's like running from the bullies who are still like pursuing him. Yeah. And he's running across the American football field. Yeah. And they're like the coach and everything, like, who is that guy, kind of thing. And he's like, we're going to sign him up to thing, and that's how he ends up, becoming a big success, goes to college and does all that.
I do think that was quite hilariously funny because it's backfired on the bullies. Like, the fact that all he did was have to run away from them. So they actually helped him practice and train for that. So thanks, bullies, for making me run my ass off. Now I'm playing football in college, which probably was never on the cards for me. So
for him, you mean?
Yeah, for him. But that's what it is, isn't it? And I think I can understand how Forrest feels like every time he does achieve something, he's generally grateful for it and like quite humble that this could even happen to him.
Yeah, he doesn't like I guess I take it for granted or anything. He just kind of just flows with it. Really, it's like oh my god, this is a great thing, and like beaming or everything. He kind of just goes with the flow, really, and it kind of stuff just kind of happens in a way. But he doesn't. He's not expecting
kind of luck, but at the same time, he's always saying yes. He's always taking the opportunities. He's always giving everything a go, and probably putting his heart and soul into it, like anything he does. Like, I can see that he's very childlike, where he loves hard, which when you're little, it's like your first crush or somebody in school, like you fancy, it's like you're besotted by them. Yeah. It's like all you think about. And I think that's what Forrest's relationship is with Jenny. Yeah. He's like, she's the best thing since sliced bread. And I think probably...
It's like we go together like peas and carrots.
I don't get that. I do not get that saying, like, you can have carrots without peas. Like, you can.
I know, but it's almost like it is a meal. It kind of just goes
together. You could do a definite better yin and yang, though. Like tea with milk or fish and chips.
Very British things there, though. So,
to be fair. Okay, s'mores. You can't have the cracker without the marshmallow,
Bacon and eggs, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that would work. Yeah. But peas and carrots. Yeah. There is some really good catchphrases in here.
You've got run, Forrest, run. And
how many times do they say that? I feel like you can make a drinking game out of it.
Well, you can make a drinking game out of how many times shrimps are brought up.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that's later on.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, from the literal breakout from that when he's running from the bullies and he breaks from those braces and then sort of like gets his legs moving, really, and that's like a big, like, it's like moment kind of thing, isn't it? Because
I was going the opposite way, though, when I saw that. I was like,
thought he's gonna...
is he all right? Is he going to fall? Are they going to, like, trample him to death? I was like, oh, my God. And then, like, Sophie's flashback on a bench, so clearly he's fine. Like, stop getting yourself worked up.
He's a ghost all the time.
Don't. But it's quite liberating to see him, like, get his freedom, he gets his legs, and then he never takes them for granted. Like, yes, okay, he'll run, but he's like, right, I've got my legs, I'm going to use them, I'm going to work them to, like, death, pretty much. But I think that's what I love about his character. He's just so lovable and enthused by anything he does. Like, the fact that when he breaks them and he runs all the way home and he's like, and he keeps just running and keeps running because, like, oh my God, this...
like unlocked something here.
Yeah.
Like, it's like an achievement almost. Of that.
And I think because life has been so hard for him, like, obviously his IQ's low, and I think he finds everything a lot more challenging than what people would class an average intelligence to be. And when he does get a success, then that means a lot more than somebody who's just like, oh yeah, I can do that, I take it for granted every day.
Yeah, because they've achieved beyond what I guess people would assume, like, oh, well, because you've got a low IQ, not going to get anywhere. But like...
And I get that so much because when I was at school, I was told I was dyslexic, and I hated it. I'm not even going to lie. Like, it was at the point where dyslexic wasn't a common thing to be. I think they'd only just got around to understanding what dyslexia was. It got to a point of where I was in an after-school club, and I despised it so much. They would chuck a ball at me and expect me to not be able to catch it because if you're dyslexic, you shouldn't have good hand-eye coordination. You know me. I have brilliant hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
So me sitting on a floor or stood up, chucking a ball, what's that really going to do for me?
Yeah, they're just lumping you in with people who are like maybe even lower IQ and just assuming, well, you know, because you've got this.
Yeah.
You've got dyslexia of that nature, then you think, well, it must be how... I mean, I'm sure there's different levels of it anyway, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
Mine was more my reading and writing, so really they should have sat me in a room, made me read and write better, to oppose of chucking a ball. Like, when do I need that in life? Like, I'm never going to be...
Volleyballs?
No. So, it's a bit, like, irritating. And then also, I know with dyslexia, your letters can move and jump, but they were putting different coloured films on my reading books to see, and I'm like, I did say, like, I can read fine. It's just processing it in my head. Still had to go through this process of looking at pink paper, and I'd have to wear glasses, and I was like, I'm telling you I'm okay. Like, why aren't you listening? It was more like this is off a book that this says what's dyslexic. Yeah. So we need to go
pass this test,
abide that. Yeah. And I think this is how I had, like, a little bit of a connection with Forrest. Because it's like, well, I've always hated feeling dumbed down or stupid or thick in that capacity. And I don't think anyone knows how badly damaging that can make you feel.
Impactful, just like anything being bullied in any capacity.
It's awful. Yeah. Because then you just don't feel worthy. Yeah. And you're always wanting to prove yourself. And I think that's what Forrest does time and time again, that he's worthy.
And almost like a shining example of like what you can achieve.
And I think that's something a good perk of the film. Like, he goes to do so many successful things that I'm so proud of what he's achieved. Like, the fact that after college, he goes into the army, I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to be a complete disaster for him.
But because he's so meticulously, like, in following orders, almost like he goes for, like, understanding completely, like, oh, you do as you're told kind of thing, and he's like, yeah, whatever, yeah, I know exactly, like, I should follow the orders because I almost need to be told what to do kind of thing. So it's almost like a perfect example of that, and the fact that he can quickly put that gun together quicker than anybody else because he's got that sort of not OCD kind of thing, but like just the way his mind works to just do it really quick and just like not mess around, as opposed to people who just like chattering away while they're trying to just idly do it and everything.
And I think for him, the more that he's getting good at it, the more that he's excelling in it, the more he wants to like be like, yeah, I am good at this. I will try and achieve everything I can. And I think the actual army do help him a lot within this, which I was like, oh gosh, this is going to be the worst thing for him. Like, being yelled at, he's not going to be able to. Yeah,
because he obviously still goes like the bus is like, oh, I'm Forrest Gump, and then it's like, I don't care what your name is, just get on the bus. And that kind of.
So it felt like he was not going to work well for him,
break down or anything like that. And this is where he meets
Bubba.
Bubba. Yeah.
Hubba Bubba.
And yeah, his big shrimp fascination.
He kind of comes across simple a little
In
bit.
a way.
But I think he's a really good friend to Forrest.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to have this little bromance go on where old Bubba talks about his shrimp. But I think he's just trying to break the ice because obviously Forrest isn't very verbal. He doesn't give a lot. So I think that's like me and you. I know to shut up and you listen, which is Forrest.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'll just ramble on about some shrimp for you now for like... I didn't know there was that many different types of shrimp. Or what you
I think it was
eat
just more
shrimp
like,
with.
all sorts of well choice, essentially.
No, you shrimp.
But I think for Bubba, because again, it's like I'll let you sit down because he's, in a way, he's got like some deformity, obviously, because his lips like sticks out, his gum, like big gums or whatever, and so that's like, oh, there's another someone I can sort of like who's also like world's beaten down on him a little, so it's someone I can just have a conversation with. And
I think for Bubba, it's like I can make a friend here, but also he was like, well, you can sit next to me if you want, because obviously back there was very racially.
Yes, it was at the time as well.
So obviously for Forrest to want to sit next to Bubba was a big deal anyways. But Forrest is one of those, he doesn't see that, he doesn't care. No,
because prior to that there was a thing about the racial slurs of like, oh, a black person wanted to go into education, like going to college or whatever. It's like, oh no, we can't do that. They ain't got no rights to do that. It's like, just
baffles me. It really does. It's just so annoying because like, why can't they? Like, it just annoys me. Like everyone else is, we're all the same. We have everything the same apart from a different pigment. Like, so what?
I know.
And like now, there's so many intelligent people that are a different ethnicity. We're so lazy as a culture. We are. We can't be arsed putting the work in.
It's true.
So I feel like Forrest always just wanted the best for everybody. Like he always just saw, and I think this is a child, he just saw the best in everybody. He never saw any bad in
just
anyone.
wanted to befriend everybody, not really have a bad time.
He's like a Labrador.
I guess, no way, yeah.
And literally, just, and even if somebody beats him up and they're nasty to him, he's still not going to do anything to upset or hurt them. And I think this is the bit where Jenny starts to miff me off, just like Rose does in Titanic. And I was like, I'm getting really, really miffed off with her now. Like, you were nice and I felt sorry for you because you'd been abused by your dad. You let him in, sit next to you. Now you're just leading him on. And it was really getting on my nerves.
Because at that point, Forrest is like, going to visit her at like campus and stuff, and then kind of finds her, like she's in Playboy magazine. And so he finds her at this bar in Memphis, kind of stuff. And then he's like, trying to be the hero when people are like, let me
especially since a background of being little, probably being sexually abused at like a young kindergarten age, and then feel very comfortable singing on a stage with just a guitar.
I think I'm not throwing shade at people who may, but I think that's how people who like fall into that sort of like stripper mentality. That's how it starts, because the father was abusive. They don't respect the body
as much, because
and so that's the only way they can like make themselves feel better, as it were. Or,
I think it's because you've already been violated, so it feels okay, I guess. But that's not the right mentality to go with. No. And I think Forrest is so protective over her. He cares so much. He loves her so deeply, and she couldn't really give two hoots about him,
because he's very overprotective. I mean, he'll just literally beat down somebody who's like trying to grab her and everything like that, and she's like, no, what are you doing, kind of thing. You can't just keep coming to my rescue and everything like that. It's just not right, kind of thing. Just almost like, leave me alone. And then that's right, I'm gonna skedaddle now, see you later. And
it's quite annoying because actually she has a really high IQ, probably. She is intelligent. She's got every faculties. She was born with her legs working from the get-go. And what's she done with herself? Like, I know she had a hard run, but people can change and people can grow, like Forrest has. But I guess it depends on your mindset and your mentality. And for her, I think, even like jumping back to when she was in college and she was kissing that guy, and then Forrest jumped to the worst conclusion, thinking something bad was happening to her. because that's all he's ever known, is to protect her and look after her.
Yeah.
And even then she was a bit miffed, but was leading him on. So she took him back upstairs, they were all wet. And she's like, oh, have you never been with a girl?
Yeah.
So then she starts taking her bra off. He lets Forrest touch her boob.
Yeah.
And then obviously Forrest has already got very excited and done his explosion. And says feels dizzy, bless him. But it's like, why are you just leading him on? Like, you don't care. Or I just feel like Forrest is always going to be there and she knows that. And he's just like a backup until she finds something better. And it's just really frustratingly annoying. And I'm like, you're awful. I really liked you. And now...
No, I definitely would agree that, like, Jenny's, like, the villain in this.
I hate her. Like, I actually hate her. And I know halfway through I went, I can't wait until she dies. And you kind of looked at me like, what the hell?
Well,
And she does die. And I'm quite glad she does. Apart from, don't get me wrong, I'm upset for Forrest because he loved her so much. But I think he's going to be better off without her. 100%. Don't look at me like that.
No, I get what you're saying, but it still doesn't make it any less easy because I know you were still crying at the end. And
Only for him, not for her.
And that's what I remember with sitting down with the family watching, and by the end of that was like almost at the very back end of the film, and that's when everyone was like, and yes, again this time it was the same for me, like still
cried a lot.
I did more than I thought this time. I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know.
I think it is, and I think also now you're married, so you can relate a lot more to having like a family, a house.
But we'll circle back to this. There's more to.
There's so much more.
Yeah. So at this point, anyway, that once Forrest rescues her from the club and she gets in there, just take me anywhere in this drifter car, whatever. And he says to Jenny, "I'm going to Vietnam," and that's we kind of like as we goes with Bubba and he meets Lieutenant Dan.
Yep, and she does say to Forrest, like, if you get into any trouble, just run, Forrest, run. But the lieutenant in this, he's very cocky, very know-it-all. Sees that, obviously, Forrest is not all with it, but still's like, right, you've got a gun, you know what you're doing, obviously, that's why you've been shipped over to me. Yeah. Doesn't treat him really any different, I don't feel, in this. Like, he treats him like a normal human being, like the rest of the guys. I don't feel like he's that one.
Yeah, like playing pranks on him or something, like just to take them piss out of him or anything like that.
He never calls him simple. He never calls him stupid.
No,
not while he's a lieutenant.
No. I think it's more like because he makes a joke with him and Bubba. It's like, are you two like twins or something? It was like because they're like thinking at the same time. But I think it's just like a slight little jab, but it's nothing.
No, it's not maliciously done.
Like that. But so it's it's kind of like a little montage of them obviously time in Vietnam and everything like that, and then hell breaks loose at one point, and Forrest like runs away when it's still dangerous afoot, and then he's like, "Oh no, gotta save Bubba," but he's on the way to like finding all the other stragglers of the platoon, and they're all injured, and he kind of keeps going back and forth.
He's a true hero.
Yeah.
Like without them, they would have definitely died because all the raid bombs come in.
And Lieutenant Dan is one of those people who's just no, just leave me kind of thing. Like for him, it comes back in the on later on. It's like his legacy, his path was to die in a great war, American war, like his forefathers and relatives and all that kind of stuff. So from that point on, it's like Lieutenant Dan's a bit like, oh, why don't you just leave me to die, kind of thing. Like, you've taken that, ripped that away from me,
and obviously,
and look what I've got. I've got no legs now,
kind
of thing. And that's like, it's because I know it would be tough to lose something like appendage like that. It's like quite important to move around and everything like that. And where your arm or whatever, it's just a lot harder. And sometimes,
and especially when you don't know. You've always known you've got two pair of legs that are going to get you somewhere. It's going to be frustrating and irritating. And like, even when you hurt something or you sprain something or you fracture it and it's not the same again, it's still annoying because it's like, well, why am I not functioning the way I used to?
And so, it's just, I completely get why Lieutenant Dan would be like really frustrated with Forrest for this. Like, why did you save me? Kind of.
Especially since that's what he wanted to die noble. He wanted to die doing what the rest of his family did do, dying, basically. But actually, in the end, Forrest has done him a favour. He's let him have his life and let him live on past the army. He has to go through a lot to get there, but I think in the end...
That's sad truth. I never have to go to war or anything like that, but I think you don't, as daft as it sounds, you don't get much respect after, you fought in a war.
Really annoying.
And then it's like, okay, well, yeah, good job, man. Like, you're like Vietnam vets and everything. They kind of just like looked around like, they're shunned. Like, okay, well, yeah.
The emotional trauma you will get from that, like holding a gun and shooting somebody, seeing
your
loads of
friends
people
die.
Like, it's so traumatic, and I don't think people appreciate. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't condemn wars, but if there's somebody power that be says you've got to go somewhere and do something, that's your job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's sad as it may seem, but it's just...
Yeah, if anything, it's like, it's horrible if you obviously die in war, but then it's almost like repercussions after the fact if you survive, and it's like if you have lost a limb, or like it's like just trying to find work after the fact.
Exactly.
The economy's like shifted, especially at the time it is.
Just coming back to normality as well, like normal civilization. What must seem completely alien when you get back to it.
Depends how much it's developed.
Yeah. And it's like going into prison then coming back out, and the world's completely changed.
Because you are a prisoner of that scenario of fighting. But it's... I did kind of like notice this time as well the fact that when like Forrest is like speaking to everybody about like, oh, tell us about the war, the Vietnam War, and then somebody is like, because he's like trying to boycott the whole thing, like, don't, like, freedom of speech kind of thing, like pull the wires so that he can't be heard, and the fact that what I've got to say about Vietnam War is, and then nobody can hear what he's saying, and it's like, well, that's all I've got to say about that. It's almost like, that's almost like a thing of like saying, no, it was, the Vietnam War was pointless. Like, it was just like, there's nothing to say about, because like, what was this war about, kind of thing. Just like people dying for no reason. And
poor Bubba. That got me.
I thought it probably would, but...
Because I feel like he had such a strong connection with him, and they were going to go back and get a boat, do a shrimp farm. They were going to do 50-50, best friends, and Bubba would be the captain, and then sadly Bubba gets massive, I don't know what it is, grenade, some massive bomb or something. I mean, it's right in his chest, and you just know already he's bleeding out, he's not going to survive. Like, even though you have this epic run out scene where all the missiles are coming down.
Napalm in the area.
Yeah, and Forrest is doing his typical running and being the hero with Bubba, and it's like, oh gosh, you better live. Even though I knew deep down he wasn't gonna, and that already was like getting me choked up, because I was thinking Bubba was a massive impact in Forrest's life, and I feel like it's still like a child where when you lose somebody, it's going to impact and be quite memorable. Not saying, you're an adult, you don't feel death or anything like that, but I think it's the first time witnessing somebody you really care about pass away is a massitive trauma.
It's impactful, yeah. But things we haven't also talked about at this point as well, like, which looking back on now is a bit like almost like forced into it, like description about all these key events that Forrest Gump kind of comes
political
into
bits, you mean?
Yeah, like that you meet the various presidents throughout.
I don't feel like these are needed. Like,
no,
if I'm completely honest,
I think the reason of doing it is because of Robert Zemeckis, who was the director of this, and he's like pushed the boundaries in terms of like visionary, like technology and stuff. I mean, he did Who Framed Roger Rabbit and like Back to the Future and stuff like that. Much later on, obviously, like Polar Express, who's Tom Hanks in that.
Oh yeah.
And so I feel like it's almost like, shoot, look what we can do at this point, like just like placing him, almost like photoshopping him into video footage, or syncing him in and everything. But I can certainly tell now that that's like badly like lip sync or some. It's kind of just that even the footage looks a bit, not for Forrest, it's more just like the presidents who are walking around, whatever, and there's like a bit with him, each like on a chat show with like John Lennon's there. It's like, imagine if there's no heaven.
I didn't even twig until you said that, to be fair.
Like, oh god, It's easy if you try it. Oh, come on. Yeah. It's just...
There's certain bits that could have been kind of cut, I guess, within that. Like, that didn't really give me much value, but it didn't last long. So it wasn't
I know, but I think another thing about was, like, for sitting down to this, it's quite a long film as well.
So long.
So like you're saying about things we caught, like, there could certainly be things I personally feel that they could be shortened down, trimmed down to make it under 2 hours at least.
Like, I know he goes through a lot, like you see him from a little boy to growing up, so fair enough, there's going to be a lot of kind of life-changing things happening, so 2 hours does sound somewhat reasonable to capture.
Yeah.
What?
But not verging on like another half an hour on top of that.
Yeah,
pretty
true.
much.
I think as well, for Forrest's character, he kind of gets to a point of where obviously like he's injured his bum.
My buttocks.
And you can tell like he's childlike because the president's going, oh, well, I'd like to see that. And I don't really know why they do this, but then obviously he just pulls his pants down, shows everybody.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't really know like American history and stuff like, or like the footage of what actually went on in that conversation, but I'm sure it's probably tweaked a little bit to make it so that it's funny that thing, and something else was actually said or done. I don't know that at that point for the film, but it's I don't know half the time what it's really adding. To be fair,
no,
I think it
apart
it
from
doesn't.
Shocking his poor mum.
I guess.
I think that's the only thing it added.
Yeah. But yeah, things like that could be removed, and the story wouldn't change that much. I think it's enough with showing like the Vietnam War, I guess, because that's the things that are happening and occurring.
And he's part of that, so it makes sense to be part of that.
Or whenever something that's directly involving him, like later on when he's just just running because he felt like it, kind of thing, and that's meaning like something. But
I think as well for this, within that, when he's doing the speech, you then have Jenny going Forrest and running through because she's proper hippy dippy at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
60s,
clearly,
yeah.
And then you've got these other guys that she's part of, like obviously against the Vietnam War and everything like that, and you know they're doing like protests and all hippy dippy stuff. She's with this other guy yet again who slaps her around the face, which Forrest is like, why are you touching Jenny like that? Like she does not, she deserves to be treated like royalty in his head. So straight away rage comes into him and he's like, right, I'm going to punch this guy because you've hurt my friend and you've hurt somebody I love. And yet again, she's a bit miffed with him again, like, and it's just the same stuff, like kind of.
I don't think that she is at that point. I think
she is, but she isn't. She's just
like, what are you doing? She's not like that kind of thing.
She's like, oh, well, he doesn't mean it.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah.
And it's like, can't you see that Forrest loves you? And all you're doing is just giving him little bits of your attention here and then, and he's just a placeholder and just holding on. And it just gets to a point where it's like,
it's very grating, isn't it?
You're a
after
bitch.
A while.
Like, Jenny's a bitch. Like, 100%. Like, it's no-brainer. Why would you do that to somebody? Like, she knows, like, herself, she said, he doesn't understand, he doesn't know better. So, she must understand how much of a big impact she is, and she must love that.
Yeah, because you're getting some attention from someone, and she's like, she's like a goddess in his eyes.
Just don't get me wrong. How many times, I don't know if you've ever had it at school, like, there'll have been somebody who fancies you, but you don't really fancy him, but you kind of still like talking to him because it gives you an ego stroke. I think that's what this is.
For her,
yeah. You're making it sound like you've never had that before, where you've, like, somebody's liked you more than you've liked them, let's say.
Someone's like me?
Yeah.
More than,
Why do you sound so surprised?
You mean like a girl, or?
Yeah. Oh.
No, I can't really say that was the case. I'm sorry. Say. It's just you then.
I guess. But I knew what I was doing, like, so I got annoyed with myself because, like, I don't really fancy you.
So you're the Jenny, and that's...
I was, but I kind of took myself away from that situation.
Right.
I was like, okay, no, I can't carry this on because it's not really fair. So set boundaries, which Jenny didn't do. She was
too busy doing coke and...
Well, she broke boundaries, like, oh, here's my boob.
But in amongst all this, anyway, there's a sort of breakthrough with Lieutenant Dan anyway, because you know they're celebrating New Year's and he's got these hookers this point, and it's like, oh no, what was your friend stupid or something? It's like, no, don't call him stupid, kind of thing. He's got like a sort of respect, I think, at that for him at that
100%.
point.
It's like, he saved my life.
Yeah.
He's not stupid. He saved loads of people's lives in the Vietnam War. What have you done with your lives?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, and it's that like, he speaks to him about like, oh, I'm going to do the shrimping business with the boat and everything, like, and it's well, the day that happens, I'll be your first mate, and kind of thing. It's like, yeah, that'll be the day, kind of.
And lo and behold, everything that Forrest does, he does, and he commits to.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't say, oh, I'm going to do this, and then never does it. He's like, right, okay, I've said I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it now.
Yeah. And much as Lieutenant Dan is true to his word on that as well, like the fact that does that, and initially it's rocky start with that. It's like oh, we didn't get much thing, and people are saying, are you stupid or something, like, for starting the shrimping business, like sinking all your money into it, and it's what's it, the saying's like, stupid is as stupid does. That keeps
I do like that. I don't understand why I like it, but I think it's
more of a, like, well, you can interpret it, and if you think that's stupid, that's your opinion, but it's, like, sometimes the people, you say you're crazy, but it's like, but crazy in a good way kind of thing, like, like, that's how, like, pioneers of, like,
well, if you don't try, you're not going to succeed.
And then, like, oh, you crazy son of a bitch, like, you pulled it off kind of thing, and that's that kind of thing, I think it is.
I'm really proud of him when he does all of that, because I think he gets to a point of where he's successful. He's got a lot of money. He did a lot of ping-ponging, or whatever you want to call it, with the paddle boards. Yeah. He went to China. He's, been on loads of TV shows. Mm-hmm. He's got a lots now with the Bubba Gump shrimp, yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. Got the hat and everything. Got the hat. Yeah. And he still then goes, right, well, I gave money to Bubba's family, like 50% of it. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I said I would do. So I did. Mm-hmm. Not even like, I don't need to have to do that now, but the loyalty is still there to Bubba and his family. Yeah. And, like she nearly faints, doesn't she, when she gets the check through the post, and it's like, well, he don't have to do this. He really doesn't need to, but he's just so generous. Yeah. Like, oh, well, I cut the grass because I didn't pay somebody to do it. I can do it, kind of thing. And even though he's wealthy and rich. Yeah, because he got the stocks in Apple. Yeah, which did make me laugh. The fruit, especially back then in 1994. Well, it was even... No, it wasn't even that. It was like early 80s. Yeah. Yeah. But obviously the film was done in 1994, wasn't it? Yeah. But, yeah. Like, I didn't realise Apple was so big until, like, probably I was 16. Yeah, it was very, very, very early computers, but they were like, And I remember the little Apple icon being very colourful and now it's just a silver. Yeah, very basic. Yeah, it's gone a long way. In more ways than one. For good or better, I don't know. But, but sadly at this point as well, it's when I thought you might get choked up with as well. I did alright at this, I thought. With his mum saying, like, oh, I'm dying, Forrest. Yeah. I think I was okay. I whelmed and was like, but I knew it was inevitable. It was going to happen. Yeah, I was aware that this was going to come. Like, Bubba had passed away. You're still seeing Forrest's life carry on, and his mum's not going to be getting any younger. So I was aware that probably this impactful part would happen. Yeah. Does it make it any easier? No. No, of course not. But the fact that Forrest at this point was at the top of his game, he was very successful, it made it feel a little bit better knowing that actually, well, at least some part he's not like he's got nothing. Yeah. Yeah. Still got the house and all that kind of stuff, yeah. Exactly. So it made it feel more bearable. But I think I felt more sad knowing that you might be sad, if that makes sense. Like, thinking like... So, I don't think prior to that, I was like, I would have started, I'm not saying like heartless or anything like that, but I wasn't like really like crying at that bit. It did make him like, a little bit like feel a little bit sad about it, but I don't think I was like, ever like, when I see the film, like, feel like I could cry about that. See? That's really cute. So, but I don't know, again, it's probably like an age thing. I think it's like, parents getting older and that kind of stuff. Yeah. You feel like time is more inevitable. Yeah. So, with Forrest just like mowing along, and then Jenny kind of appears to him, and it's like, oh, look who's back, the cat dragged in. And not, he didn't say that, but obviously for him it's like, oh, well, she's here, like my shining light is here to... And I think it's more like
it does feel like she's like, oh, she's got nowhere else to go. And it's like, oh, what's the safe haven?
Yeah.
Good old Forrest.
I'll just always go back and lean on him and he'll be there, right where I left him.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bit that really annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, the reason why it annoys me so much is I did have a past relationship like this where I would be Forrest.
Mm-hmm.
I would just see the best in him for whatever he was. And he took me for granted. And that's what she does with Forrest.
Mm.
She just takes him for granted. And he just lets her because he's so innocent. He doesn't see what she's doing. And I think... So she stays. They have birthdays together. She buys him a pair of trainers.
Mm-hmm.
And bless him, I realise that's the one where when we have the flashbacks to the bench that he's talking to everybody, it's the same mucky-ass trainers, but he's in a lovely suit.
Yeah.
And he's just talking to everyone about Jenny constantly.
Mm-hmm.
He even names the shrimp boat after Jenny. And I'm like, what the hell? Why not Bubba? Like...
Yeah, I know.
Jenny, it's just Jenny this, Jenny that.
Yeah.
You know, like when you first throw a relationship and you just can't stop talking about that person because they're just so amazing. Like, so every sentence you just want to shoehorn the name in.
Right, so... Are you saying you're annoyed at Forrest for, like, being so smitten with her, or...
I am a little bit, but I know Forrest can't help it. It's not his fault. Jenny, on the other hand, she knows what influence she has. She knows what she can do. And this bit...
Sorry, before we get to that, sorry. Another bit I do like this, did appreciate this time. I think again was the fact when they're kind of like walking, talking, just like hanging out, and then they kind of stumble across her like old childhood home, and it's all like the wind. It's almost like a ghost from the past. It's all like silent, wind's blowing, and everything. It's like she's just like staring at it, and it's like and throwing like rocks and everything. It's like, oh, you know, this is all stems from you. Like why my life has been so shit all this time, and
I'm gonna be awful and say yes, you can have a shit start. But it's what you do with it
after the fact, for sure, yeah.
And what does she do with it? She had Forrest all the way, and he would have helped her massively if she'd have let him. She never did. All she did was push him away.
That's not to say that, obviously, because you say you've been drafted into the war and stuff, that she wouldn't have still gone off on her own doing anything. Wait for me, Jenny, at home, and it's like she would have.
So she should have done.
She could have easily gone
ages for her.
But...
And she just comes back and he's like, yeah, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no. I wished Forrest would have found somebody else and he would have settled down with somebody else. And Jenny came back and she'd be like, oh. It's like, yeah.
Don't know what you have to, it's gone.
Yeah, I feel like she should have been that kind of character.
Mm-hmm. But sorry, you were going to say before the bit that kind of, is it the, what asked for his hand in marriage? Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, you don't want to marry me, kind of thing. And then,
like, I understand that. Like, I get where Jenny comes from. Like, she doesn't think she's... Well, there's two sides that could be interpreted. She generally doesn't think she's worthy of Forrest. And that's the nice side. Or she's just saying that as a good way to go, we need to break up, but it's me, not you, kind of thing.
Yeah. That old chestnut, yeah.
And it's more that, to be honest. Which is frustrating. And then that night, this is a bit that I just don't get, and it's like leading him on yet again. Where she comes through his window like she used to do when she was a little girl. She snuggles up in bed with him, and clearly it's implied they do the nasty. And the next day she goes.
Yeah,
she's off. Leaving poor Forrest to be like, what the hell? Like, it's probably his first time ever losing his virginity, and then the woman just leaves the next day. Like, she's not even thinking about how that would make him feel.
No, and so he's kind of just left in his empty house. His mother's not there, Jenny's not there.
He's all alone.
And he's got almost like no sense of purpose, really, in that regard. It's not like he's like, out on his luck, like poor and everything, but he's got all the stocks and everything. But I think it's more just like, well, what do I do? It's just like, for no particular reason, start running, because again, that's a theme that's what is he chasing, and almost like a pursuit of something all his life, and then that kind of almost like inspires people as like, he's makes the news, and everybody's like, this guy's like, what are you doing it for? World peace, women's rights, kind of thing. Kind of thing. It's like, no, just doing it because of you.
For me, I feel like that's something that Forrest definitely does. He will do definitely anything for himself. Like, he's like, well, I've decided I want to do this today, so I'm going to do it. It kind of comes across a little bit autistic in a capacity. Like, it can be quite closed off and reserved, but then when he's comfortable, you can't shut him up. But then he's very good at, like, ping pong, for example, which, going to China and doing ping pong compared to like an American person doing it is normally not. Like the Chinese would be a lot better at it than us.
Now, is that some kind of stereotype?
No, they just generally are better than us. They are. And I think he just keeps running and running and running. And this is a bit where, obviously, he comes back. He's like, right, I'm done now. And he actually does say, doesn't he? He's been running for 3 years.
However many months, yeah.
I think it's just like a closure thing. It was like when you exercise or box or anything, it's like releasing the stress of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a kind of, he was running away from his past.
Yeah.
So that he could start his new present. But that don't really work out for him, does it?
Not really.
Because he gets his closure, which he thinks he's got, until he gets back home, and then, boom, Jenny appears again. And that's why he's sat on the bench.
Yeah, and all this time, it's like literally just the road. So, oh, jeez. Yeah, so when he gets to meet Jenny after all this time, and I think the first time I saw the film, I don't know why this got me more than anything the first time as opposed to anything else. But I think it was more it was the realization that he had a son was the most like, oh my god, like I can't believe it kind of thing. That's a kid who's 3 years old at this point. And I know for you said, oh, it's because he's like, Forrest asks if Forrest is his son, is he smart? Jenny says, yeah, he's very smart. And you were like, oh, not really.
But I think it's the fact that you got yourself so worked up, because I feel like for me, like when we do have a child, I hope and pray that they don't have to have what I had to go through, like when I was at school. Like I'd hope that they could have a bit of an easier ride with like spelling, writing. Hoping your side's going to come through on that. And I understand how he would feel like to think, oh, I've passed this on to somebody else.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to go through the same thing.
Because he's aware that, because people have sort of been telling him all his life in a way.
Yeah, but, it's stupid and it's going to sink in.
It's almost like a relief for him, and it's like, oh my god, like he's. But for me, I think the first time watching it was simply just the realization that, oh my god, he's got a kid, and that's like you didn't expect that, and it's kind of like almost like the shock of it. Really, that's an impact of that. But I think from watching with you, and obviously being a bit older now as well, like still like a bit like choking up a bit more. That
got me quite a bit. I think that's when my tears pretty much started, and then they kind of subsided, and then later on they started again, and then I was like, oh Jesus, right, I'm just crying now constantly. Yeah. But with this, it was more Forrest feeling like his child was being smart, and he was proud of that.
Yeah.
But then I kind of got annoyed and was like, wait a minute, he's had a child for 3 years. Like, why have you decided to pop up now? Like, if you were pregnant, wouldn't you have contacted him sooner? Yes, I know, he was on his miles of runs.
Yeah. So his only known home address was home, basically. So it's like, where can I send otherwise? Because
But at the same time,
it's almost
she could have gone out of her way if she really cared for Forrest, so that he could have come home sooner, and she could have spent the time with him sooner. Did she hell care? Like, it was just when she realised she were poorly. Oh, I can't look after Forrest now, so you're going to have to do it. Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, true. By the way, I'm dying, so, you're going to have to look after.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, what an absolute cow. Like, you just hid the fact that he's had a child for 3 years, and now you're poorly, you're going to die on him and leave him with a child by himself, basically.
And also, I guess I had insult to injuries like I'll marry you now.
Yeah.
As well, like, just doing you a favour, kind of.
Yeah, I'm dying now, so I might as well.
Because she's not getting anything out of it in that sense, like, other than the fact that she's like, good Christian or something like that, for all her sins of, like, I don't know, but...
Well, really, she should have married him first before she had the child, then she might have gone to heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you also, like, you were quite, like, happy about the fact that when the wedding happens and you see Lieutenant Dan and he's, like, walking, he's got those...
And I think it's kind of a full circle, because, like, Lieutenant just say, well, do you know how it feels to not have legs? And Forrest's like, yes, I do. Like, I understand. Yeah. And then kind of Lieutenant doing, like, a 360 with him, like, not having any legs anymore, then being back walking. And Forrest just knowing exactly how he feels. Like, they really have that in common. And then he's engaged too, so he's... I feel like he's actually done a really lovely character
He's
growth.
turned himself around, with what life's given him. Obviously, Forrest gave him the opportunity to work with him on the shrimp boat and everything. From that, the success and everything like that. So like a new lease on life. So yeah, he's had growth.
Jenny hasn't. Like when she wanted to actually kill herself, like when she's doing loads of drugs and everything prior.
Yeah, it was like I was going to jump off the roof and everything. It's like,
and I kind of like,
you were like, do it.
I was, but then I was at the same time, it's like, you're so selfish because you're not thinking of how Forrest is going to feel. Like, you're massively influential on that person's life. Like, you have to think of him like a child. Like, if you just decided to kill yourself and you've got a child at home, like, how could you do that? Like, how could you think, unless you're in a really, really bad state, but how selfish are you to not think of that other person that you're going to leave behind?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that always annoys me. Like, she's always thinking of herself when Forrest is thinking of everybody else. And does she deserve to marry him? Hell no.
No, I think it's more like a little twee bow at the end almost, isn't it? Like he's sort of happy for a moment, but then inevitably...
I wasn't happy for him, to be fair.
To the gravestone shortly after.
The tree as well, where they've always been.
And so, that's the big heavy hit. Punch to the gut with it. It was like if you are more feeling more sorry for Forrest. Is like, I'll miss you, Jenny, kind of thing. And it's like, oh my god. Yeah.
But I think he's got his closure then, and at least he's not on his own because he's got little Forrest. So that makes me feel better. And I feel like he's going to be an amazing dad to Forrest. Probably with Jenny around, she would have broke his heart. She'd have ended up going with somebody else and leaving him and taking all his money. Yeah, 100%.
Gold digger.
She would never have stuck around because she didn't love him.
Yeah, it all feels a bit false, do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, or she was never in love with him.
Yeah.
She loved him and cared for him like a brother, not romantically.
It's more like, oh, well, you're the... It's not even like I sort of see the light of, like, you were there all along and how come I didn't realise it? It's more of a somewhat convenient way of loving someone.
It's like a safety blanket.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you'll do. Yeah.
You know, like when you become 40 and you go, oh, if we're not married by this age, we'll get married.
Yeah.
It's that.
Pretty much.
But what is cute is you kind of get the same beginning as you do the ending. So you've got little Forrest getting on the school bus and you can tell Forrest is like feeling
anxious.
Which
I think is a normal thing for a parent to be doing.
And all the emotions of your first day are coming back to you, flashing. And you're like, I just hope he has a good day and I hope it goes all well. And then the feather that he picks up at the beginning of the film is then blown away. And that's it.
I think we did that quite well. It's almost like going through the beat for beat this time.
I tried.
Yeah.
When Jenny died, did you cry because you think, oh, if Sophie dies, she'll miss her? You'd be like Forrest, blow.
Yeah.
Baby.
Of course, yeah. But even before I met you, and I think it was just the sad thing of like, like missing anybody. The fact that he had such a fondness for her, and now he's been ripped away from him.
Yeah.
At this point, when it's like, life was just getting started with her, but I know he's gone through a lot.
He knew what he was getting himself into though with marrying her. He knew she was poorly, so.
I know that, but
she's just selfish that she could have given him that for longer.
I think he does seem to have a heavy reliance on the sort of like those emotional tugging on the heartstrings with that. Really, I think that's what it's playing to me. Like, not necessarily say sappy, but like in a way that's like a way to, I guess, coax the audience into feeling that way about like, oh, you're meant to feel like sad or melancholy about the situation. Really, I don't know if you agree with how that's coming across from your first watch of this, or.
I just thought the music was really cute, like apt when it came in. I didn't feel like it. Oh, I'm playing this now, so you should cry.
You must cry at this bit because it is sad.
Yeah, I didn't interpret it that way because obviously it's my first watch, so it's a little bit different for me, I guess. But I can understand with how many times have you watched this now?
With maybe fourth time, maybe.
Wow. Okay.
I think.
Yeah, so I can understand why you can see where they're now putting this. You must cry here, like when you're in an audience, applaud.
Yeah. In a way. So, is there anything else you want to bring up before we go to scoring then?
No, I don't think so. Unless you just want me to get on my I hate Jenny and Rose wagon.
The only thing I've got else to say is, again, I seem to do this at the end, is the
music.
The music. Again, the soundtrack again. I'm not talking about the score and everything. Obviously,
the Plinky
I'm talking about I think it's more obviously like when we're in like the Vietnam War and there's all those like needle drops of there's like Jimi Hendrix and
there must be some way out of here.
And all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking like that must have cost a lot for the amount of like the snippets that they were.
Yeah, they weren't long though, but yeah.
But there was so many like crammed into the film. It's like you normally have a few scattered around in the film, but it kind of feels like they just all collectively dumped it in at that part, just because I guess obviously the music of that era was kind of like influential of like these great songs that everybody recognises kind of stuff and of that era.
And I think as well the way that they were filming it at that point, there wasn't much dialogue happening within that, so it was more like drip feeding.
Yeah, again, montages of stuff and things like that. Yeah, see what's going on, but I get it. Yeah, but I would still say it's really good, but really great music.
No, definitely. Is it as good as Deadpool's? I'm not sure. It didn't have NSYNC in this one.
No, Forrest. We did sort of do the Elvis dance, which inspired Elvis. It was another thing that was kind of like, again, really, what do we really need that? True. Yeah, what did that add?
Yeah, there's some bits where it's like you could cut it down, but the rest of the film is pretty solid.
So, this is time for your score then.
Oh, it's so hard. It's not a 10. I'm sorry. I won't be watching it again because it made me cry.
One and done. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's watch it all until and just miss the end.
Right. So but you said you cried it when Bubba.
I did, but now that I know that, I feel like I'll be all right. And like the mum thing, I'll be aware that that's coming. Yeah. And just once he gets Jenny back again, then we could just stop it there.
Once she's down that road a few blocks away. Is that right? That's okay.
That's where the film can end for me. Does Tom Hanks do a brilliant performance? 100%.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, he's amazing with whatever he touches. Like, I love Castaway, and I feel like that's a masterpiece in itself. Just because, obviously, he's acting by himself for the majority of the film.
Yeah.
He's pure stardom. He's apparently 36 years old when he's in this role. Does he hell look like that? Mm-hmm. Like, he looks like a wee baby, like he's 18 years old, doesn't he? Has Jenny really ruined it for me? Yeah.
I mentioned to you so well that the fact she was in Princess Bride as well, where she played a little bit more of a...
I liked her in that. Yeah. She's more sassy, wasn't she?
Go check out that episode, by the way.
Yeah.
But yes, she is a bit of the villain of the film. It's just like
I didn't expect that. I think it threw me into like a right loop because initially I thought she was going to be a really good friend that was always there for him.
Women can be such bitches, can't they?
Yeah, they can. Awful creatures. So, with that all in mind, the music's brilliant, like you said. The way that it's filmed, there could be something shortened, but majority of it is valid and golden, and it's got good morals. Mm-hmm. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve if you put your mind to it. Yep. All of that.
Sure.
I think for me, if Forrest had got married to Jenny and she did genuinely love him, she hadn't hidden a child for 3 years, it probably would have been a 10. Like, even if she'd have passed away. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, but not just gone, oh, I'm sick, here, look after the child now.
Yeah.
That would have felt more impactful for me.
Right.
Knowing, even if she'd have done her rebel stages, but then she'd come back to him, like when she came back and she did sleep with him, and then she just stayed.
Yeah. And they lived happily ever after.
That would have been fine. And then if she passed away, that would have been I would have felt that much more.
I get it.
Than him having to run for God knows how long. Mm-hmm. To then get her back for what, like not even a year. So for me, I think I'm gonna have to score it, and it feels low because it could be, it should be a 10, but it can't be for me.
In a lot of people's eyes, I think it is, but cool.
So I'm gonna go an 8. It's not low, but it is for what it is.
A whole 2 points because of Jenny.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like the Titanic. It's the same thing.
Yeah, ruined the experience at the back end.
Yeah. And I'm really miffed about it because I really enjoyed all of it. And then she was just like, what a bitch. Just won't get Jack on the board. Waited 3 years to tell Forrest you've got a child. Sorry. I don't know if you anticipated that I would react this way. I don't know.
In a way I did, because, like I say, I agree with how she treats Forrest throughout the film. I think it's purposely written that way, of course, but it's, for just seeing it as seeing it straight as an audience, when you're thinking, wow, what a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
But it is the case. I'm probably going to be on the same score as you with this, an 8.
Yay!
I mean, yes, it did. The big, I say the big selling point is the fact that it still makes me feel emotions after all this time.
Mm-hmm.
Hell of a lot more than I was expected this time around as well. The drawbacks are, I mean, to be fair, say about the runtime before, how it was quite a long film. Although I didn't feel like was getting into it me in my head and remembering where the beats of the film are.
Mm.
It wasn't going this is dragging like that. I think it's just more the things like those things with I'm meeting the president yet again kind of thing, and it's like, what? Yeah, don't need those. Don't need that. Really, it's not really that impactful.
Mm.
Stuff like the Vietnam War is the being backdrop of thing. That was a big impactful thing. Keep the part with he's with the Black Panthers and all that kind of stuff. Again, that was of that period being an important thing, but certain other bits you could probably trim down and make
every
it more
president
concise.
being killed is not required.
Yeah. It's not like it as such comes back into play too much.
It's not really
to impact the
impactful.
story of that, and
it's just more telling you a stamp of what decade you're in.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like a time kind of reminder.
We're in this part of an American history kind of thing, really. But other than that, it's still a good watch, but not one that's like, oh, can't wait to put that on again.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you've watched it 4 times, to be fair.
Yeah, it's something I've had for on the shelf for a good while.
Can we sell it now?
Yeah, you were joking like, is this in 4K, Paul? And I said, no, it's only Blu-ray. Like, I could tell the grain.
It's like I can't watch it. It's not in this
unacceptable.
But now to a high standard.
So we wouldn't be like, oh, Paul, get the 4K.
No. There's no point, darling. I'm not going to see it again.
Fair enough. Well, there's some films you can do like a one and done kind of thing, and that's it's. I think your mum said it's a film that you should watch once in your life. Whether you continue to watch that is another matter.
Yeah.
But obviously, in your case, just make it sound like no. It it does mean a lot to some people, but I think it's
like Forrest means a lot to me. I can't say I don't love his character.
Mm-hmm.
I do, and I find him really endearing, and I'm really proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
But do I need that emotional roller coaster? Like, do I want to put myself through that again? Probably not. But I understand why people will love it. I get that. Mm. I'm not highly slagging it off either.
No, but some people say it's a bit schmaltzy and everything, and so they're like, not interested. Like overblown over case. I do believe though you did rate this higher than Titanic, so
did I?
Yeah,
I did rate Titanic.
Well, you have to listen to the episode to find out.
I can't even remember. It's so bad. It's a good job you keep a tally.
Yeah. A little spreadsheet, yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, just because I fell in love with Forrest more, I think. Jack's dishy, don't get me wrong, but Forrest is more lovable, isn't he?
And the Titanic was a lot longer anyway as well, wasn't it?
What is up with you this year? What making watch long-ass films? We've got lives. Anyways, we should probably wrap this one up.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you wholeheartedly enjoy the experience or not, or it's a bit of a
like Marmite
balance. Yeah. Well, you love it or you hate it. You can't say you hated it.
I neither.
Well, that's not.
I love it and I hate it.
Well, that's not Marmite then, is it? It's either one way or the other.
No, I'm in the middle.
That's not like a Marmite. Then.
All right. Well, I'm Switzerland towards it.
Yeah. Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you want to check out some of our other episodes, like Titanic or Princess Bride, as we mentioned,
plug in them,
then you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And as always, be sure to give us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, and wherever else they do the scoring system.
So if you want to follow us on social media, then you can. Under the handle SP_filmviewers. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. So go hit that like, subscribe, follow, whatever
All that jazz. Yeah.
buttons they are now.
And of course, we'd like to thank the Patreons once again for their continuing support with the show.
Mm-hmm.
And those lovely people are Alex and Shani, who are at Desperately Seeking Username and SDOG, respectively.
We then also got Jonesy and M, who are on Instagram under the handles Weight Loss Jonesy and M_Hayton.
We've also got Mark from 100 Things You Learned from Film, Ben from Film Vloggers / Ben Push Pull Health, now more so, and Nico from The Good, The Bad and The Weird podcast.
And lastly but not least, we have got Gren, who's under the handle CGren_draw on Instagram, and my mum,
who's not on Instagram.
She's nowhere to be found.
On the socials.
Yeah.
So, if you want your name read out every single episode and have the opportunity to vote for a movie we watch once a month, then all you need to do is go to patreon.com/SPFilmViewers. It only costs £1 or $1.50 a month to do so. So really appreciate it if you could join the family.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a wrap.
We're done.
Next time is one we haven't seen, of course. Got to figure what that is. Got to be planning ahead for the rest of the year now. We sort of did that in.
You did. Is it soon going to be a Patreon pick as well?
It will be. That will be. I think that'll. I'm going to put that as a one that you haven't seen. I think this time,
okay.
As opposed to.
Well, neither of us.
Yeah.
So if you do want to come a Patreon, get in soon, because I think it'll be a couple of weeks' time, and then they'll be voting.
So thank you very much once again for listening, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Forrest.
Bye.